glasser is really an undercredited guy.
He's the man when it comes to it, and the creativity and the amount of time he's been in it is unbeatable to anybody else, really.
The glasser is kind of like this unsung hero.
Probably the hardest work. He is the hardest working person I've ever met in my life. I've never seen anybody that works as hard as he does.
My name's Doug Fletcher, and I make surfboards. We get the shape blanks from all the different shapers in town. We probably glass for 10 different guys. And they bring us the custom shaped cores, and then we apply the fiberglass. The next step is to dress the board, which is where we pull the fiberglass cloth out on the board and trim it around to fit the curve of the board. Up the resin. If it's a clear board, it just comes right out of the can. It's clear. And if you want to add color to it, then we have all the different arrays of pigments. If you know what you're doing, you get the color that you're looking for. So, but we mix the color right into the resin, depending on what the customer wants. You know, it's a shade of some color. You mix that in the resin. You then have to add a hardener. And then in order for it to harden, you add the catalyst. step, we apply the laminates and then put a coat of resin over them so the board can be sanded. After the decals have been placed down, then we put the sanding coat, or hot coat it's referred to as, on the board, and that coats the lamination with a sandable resin. So we put a sanding coat, which is a laminating resin with a surfacing agent mixed in, and it creates kind of just a hard shell that you can sand. Next step would be to go to the sanding room, and you basically are bringing the board back to the shaper's original shape. The sander is kind of like a shaper in that he levels the board where it needs to be level, and he sands the curves and the round radiuses all back into where they're supposed to be. So a sander can make or break a glass job. After the sanding, the board is either finished off with just a silicone acrylic sealer coat, which is just applied by hand.
I met Doug Fletcher, I don't know, probably when I was 15 or 16. That was a while ago. He was sanding surfboards at Freeline Design, and I was just a surf rat riding for the team, hanging out with Peter Mellon, my friend Joey. We'd always go in there and bug Doug Fletcher, because he was the last guy in line to make the board, so we'd always go in there and get my board done. So he was cool though. I mean, he was a nice guy. He always got our board done last though, because John Mel, the owner of the place, said that the team guys got the boards last because he wouldn't pay much for them, so the paying customers. So he was super cool. We knew him back then. He was a little older, more like kind of I mean, when you're 16 and he is probably, how old is he? Probably late 30s. It was more like, he was kind of more like a father figure, more than, not a father figure because we weren't really hanging out, but more like kind of older guy.
Somebody you admired and looked up to?
Yeah, you know, like, yeah, I mean, kind of. We were pretty punky back then. I don't know if we really were admiring anybody except for ourselves, but I met some guys, Peter Mel, and all of us became good friends, and then I was hanging out with Peter, his dad owned the Freeline factory, the Freeline surf shop, so that's kind of natural. We were hanging out there with other boys. That's how I met Doug. So we came here when Mike Wash passed away. Doug had an empty factory, pretty much didn't want to run it anymore. He had a couple guys working for him at the time. It was something he didn't want to do anymore. So we moved to here. I think we changed the name to the Santa Cruz Board Builders Guild a year after we moved in here or something. We just decided we'd do that. The rest is history.
There's so many people who shape boards, and you know, all those labels you see, all those labels, all those shapers, you know, but there's only what 3 places in Santa Cruz where all those boards are made. You know, I mean, the glasser is really an undercredited guy. You know, I started, you know, reading up more about it and stuff like that, and I kind of realized that, you know, hey man, the glasser is kind of like this unsung hero, you know, that you know, crafts this board and puts it out there, but yet doesn't take any credit for it, you know. And I could kind of really relate to that because I did the same thing in the mortuary field for many years. And it's like the day I came here, like I made Fletch a board, and I came here like, you know, like, here, you know, like, I made this for you, man. I want to come here and work with you and learn how to do it right and all that stuff.
I figured this would be a good place to get into, you know, and I started bugging Fletch and Dave A, and before you knew it, they said, hey, come show up, make some money, start working. And Fletch is basically like he's like the professor. You know, if we had to have like a college on this, Fletch would be the dean, basically. Like the man that comes in every once in a while and shows the other professors how to do it right. like, because he's the man when it comes to it, and the creativity and the amount of time he's been in it, unbeatable to anybody else, really.
Probably in 1961, I'd say. That's when, like every other kid in Southern California, got totally bitten by the surfing bug. But I mean, literally, it's all I thought about for a lot of years. No wetsuits, there was no surf wear, you know? The only expense was a surfboard, you know? And you wore shorts, or, you know, they didn't have surf wear, surf trunk manufacturers even. Yeah, it was pretty crazy back then. It was just as crowded then as it is now. Early on, the surfers were more like, kind of like regular people and had like regular other interests, but they just surfed too, you know?
Right.
But then little by little it became this counterculture kind of thing, or it just became, it's all people did, you know, surf and live that lifestyle so they could surf. And it's hard to be able to be it when the waves are good. You have to be there. I had some friends in Southern California that worked in the industry.
Yeah.
And so I picked up tips from them. I mean, I started right off doing my own repair work on my first board, you know. And I ended up repairing most all my friends' boards too, because I was the only one that did it. You know? And I started just on my own reshaping some old long boards into short boards and glassing them. And there was a few guys that were really helpful that way. And then some of my friends that worked in the industry, a guy named Brian Hebert, who was also known as Bosco Bear, who was pretty well known in Southern California. Yeah, he taught me a lot. And a lot of the guys that taught me early on really stressed quality too. You know, they always said, you know, make it perfect. If you're going to do it, make it perfect.
Right.
So that kind of stuck with me. Wash also taught me tons and tons. He'd been building boards for 30 years, you know. And he was the same way, quality, super quality conscious, you know. And I picked up lots and lots and lots from him. I picked up a lot from everybody. I still like see how people do things, you know. I'm still learning new ways to do stuff, so it's like it's a never-ending process pretty much. So. But it's still fun, you know. It's like maybe I don't surf as much as I used to, for sure, but I still got the desire, you know. Now, if you're not out there riding the waves, for me, there's nothing better than to be building boards for riding waves. So. And it's still I like coming to work every day. I still enjoy it, you know. I'm pretty lucky that I got to do this, you know, what I love or a living. Yeah, really. You know, and with all that goes on in the world today, it's like I got no complaints, you know. Right. That's for sure. Right. There's been some guys at shops that really helped me early on and gave me tips and how I could do better, you know, and so I've always shared what I know and I'm happy to do it.
Pass before me, lonely one, I adore thee. No money, no more. I offer my heart.
It's like the Baconettes. Baconettes, watch it. Ready? Outtake right there. Now go and grab the surfboard, put huge pop prints all over it. What's this? You're looking for the board.
In the morning, it's like dark, and I got my glasses like this, trying to find this thing. That's my computer time. You know, like I get up at 5, and then I'm
Do an email and stuff or
Yeah, I
whatever?
check, you know, Facebook. I love the smell of resin in the morning.
Exactly.
Not.
Yeah.